Ooh.
What do you see?
Oof. Oh no. That's a rebuild. Well.
What is this?
Sludge. I don't know.
Something got in there.
Well, here's the good news. We've always wanted to rebuild an engine.
Yeah.
So,
Might as well. We're already
here we
there.
go. We're in it.
Yeah, we're already here. We are finally out of machine shop jail. We dropped our head off 6 weeks ago. The first one was cracked, and then we got this one, which is the original head off of the Ranger motor, so the motor that we started with, and we had it gone through, and it is good. Everything checks out. It is finally done, which means we can finally start assembling this thing. We started the build a long time ago, like 2 months ago, and I actually showed the first video on the channel, and then we had to stop because machine shop stuff. So I am so excited to show you guys everything that is going in this car. We got a little carried away, I guess, but not, I don't know, not for real. We went ahead and pulled a pedal assembly out of a 87 SVO turbo coupe. And I don't know, it's not an SVO, it's a turbo coupe. Thunderbird turbo coupe. So we went and found one in the junkyard, pulled it out. It's a pain to get out, but you can do it. It took us about an hour and a half, but this one took us like 3 hours to get out. It's just weave behind everything. Anyway, we got it out and we went ahead and threw it in the car. Very simple, very straightforward. Sorry we didn't film it, but it's simple enough. It's just time consuming. Now we can put stuff together. So we've got a bearing kit here. We've got some piston rings, bearings for our rods. They had our crank polished and checked, and it is still within factory spec, also from the Ranger motor. We've got our full gasket kit, clutch kit here, filters, brand new water pump, fuel filter there. Oh, cool. I didn't know I ordered these. Yeah, so this is, oh look, and it's got the rod that we need. What's up? Heck yeah. We thought we were missing that. A master cylinder, because we are doing a manual conversion on this car as well. We're doing everything. Yeah, coil, we got plugs, wires. Oh, new distributor cap. All of this stuff costs less than, let me think of one thing on the Porsche that was more than this. Oh, all of this stuff costs about the same as my heat exchangers, my used heat exchangers for my 911. Just to put it into perspective, the Bosch, oh, filter, Bosch oil filter, because bougie like that. Thermostat housing. This is so fun.
It's been so long, you're like a kid on Christmas.
I know, it's literally, I ordered this stuff like 2.5 months ago when we dropped the head off, or before we dropped the head off actually. And I've just been waiting. So you look at all of this, and this all cost me around $435, not including the head or this bracket. The head and the crank cost $280 to have gone through, checked. I think we had a valve or two replaced and pressure tested. That was with polishing the crank. This is a cross member. You don't always have to get one of these, but in our specific situation, we needed a new cross member. And so this is a cross member for a manual or automatic. You'll see these little things slide in and out. That allows you to place the cross member where it needs to be, whether it's for a manual or for an automatic. This one will work. We have a T5 transmission going into this car as well, so we're gonna be doing that. So with all of that, we're gonna start putting this stuff together. And I think our first step is gonna be getting the transmission installed. We're gonna go ahead and put the transmission in and get it ready, and then we'll install the engine inside the car. We'll bolt the transmission to it and everything inside the actual car. All right, that was a lot of words, this is a lot of parts, let's get to work. Check out our new table, it is very sick. So I searched the internet forever and I could not figure out how to mount this slave cylinder. It seems pretty obvious, but there's nothing online about the hydraulic systems for the T5. It seems like everybody uses manual T5s because it's the older style, and they ran hydraulic T5s for a little while, but there's no information, and looks like they used maybe a couple of iterations of slave cylinder. Ours mounts with a clip that I could not find anywhere on the internet, so I made this. It's a little bit crude, but it's just some 1/4 inch round stock, and I think it's gonna work. Let's try it. Mounted.
Sweet.
And I think it might work, probably. All right, are we ready for the transmission to go in?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Well, I'm gonna go back underneath.
Okay.
Come on. Yep, like that.
Okay. You want the other jack?
Might have to get the other jack. Okay. Okay, now done.
Almost purple?
Almost purple. Probably was purple one day
Okay.
when it came off the
Car.
car, yeah. And then we're gonna heat shrink this up.
Man.
Then we're gonna put some black tape on it. Call her done.
Ooh, this is scary. Do you have just a lighter?
What?
You have just a lighter?
Why would we have just a lighter?
Because
You
like,
have giant.
Wait a minute, we do.
I don't need to throw flames, man.
How was the cigarette?
Perfect.
Fine.
Caleb really wanted to use the torch.
Heat shrink one.
Would have been done with mine already. Might have melted the wires together, but. Okay, so we, this engine does not want to be an engine at all. We just spent 6 weeks in machine shop jail and finally got our head back. We weren't able to reuse the turbo head because it had like 6 cracks in it. Our turbo block is shot as well, so we're real thankful for the junkyard guy that talked us into that one instead of the other one. Very frustrated with him. And then we started doing some research and found out that the NA and turbo blocks are the same minus the oil return that's in the side of the block. We thought no big deal. Put an oil return in the oil pan, we'll be good to go. But we went to put these bearings in, and it looks like the turbo bearings are bigger, which is great. It's the same as far as we know, as far as all the stamping and everything else tells us and our machine shop tells us. The crankshaft for these two are the exact same. It's the same part number, everything, same casting number. But the bearings are in fact different. So our new bearings do not fit. They actually won't fit at all. If you are wondering, or if anyone's wondering, I'm sure there's somewhere on the internet that talks about this, but these are in fact different main journals. So the problem with this is we can't get these. It's late in the afternoon. We can't get these anywhere locally. We can have them shipped to us in the next 4 days or whatever. We got Ryan coming over. He's going to take a look at everything for us and just kind of give us the best plan of action. But until then, we are on hold with this car once more. So Ryan from Massaro Speed came in clutch with some new bearings, and we were able to get this motor together. He also offered to come by and just show us how to assemble piston rings and pistons and rods and everything else that's got to go in this motor. We really don't want to have to do this again, and so he just gave us a quick crash course on how to align your rings, how to install pistons, and how to make sure that this thing's actually going to make compression and work whenever we get it back into the car. He stayed and helped us assemble the entire bottom end, make sure that everything looked right, and then left us to do the rest of the motor on our own. check this out. Look at this. Look up here. See those?
Yeah.
Okay. Now watch. Okay, watch this.
I can only see the side.
Yeah, but look, pistons are in here. Might have to stand up to see them. Hold my hand, stand up. Watch them. You can hold me.
These go up
Yeah.
and those go down.
Isn't that cool?
How are you doing that?
So the crankshaft spins it. It's connected to the pistons, and that's what's spinning the pistons around. Isn't that cool?
I don't see at the bottom. Okay. Crank it up. Okay.
So next, we put this on. See this? This is called the head,
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah, and it covers these, so
Yeah.
no one knows you have pistons.
That's right. It covers them so that we can put fire in here and make the engine go.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
All right, let's go.
you forget to carry me, sir.
So now that the bottom end is done and it's working, we're ready to just put everything back on. Now all this is familiar to me. I've done it all before as maintenance for different cars, head gaskets, intake gaskets, exhaust gaskets, and all of the other things that have to go into the car to allow air to flow through it. So it's just a matter of building. If you've ever built Legos, you can build an engine. You just follow the directions and in the end you have something that'll work. We have run into problems at every single turn on this build. I mean, every single turn, but we're gonna press through it. And we just ran into another one, and that is that our intake for our turbo motor does not fit the Ranger head, which means we can't use it. And if we can't use it, we can't use our distributor. And if we can't use our distributor, then we have to figure out a new solution for ignition. And so this is a problem. We're just gonna come back to it later and try to move forward with other things that are actually working right on this build. We did decide to go with an upgraded exhaust manifold on this build. It's basically just a casting that was made that's a lot more open, that has a bigger opening that will adapt like a T3, T4 style turbo, and it just flows a little bit better than the stock unit, and you'll see why in just a minute. Adapter when you can get a whole turbocharger! How sick is that?
That's sick, dude. Where'd you get that, man?
Same place I got that. I lied. So the guy was selling a turbo and the manifold and the computer all together, and it was just so cheap. I was like, I gotta do it. And with the luck we've had with this engine, I didn't want to put our lives in the hands of old Dane's.
Dude, that's a big one too, isn't it?
That's a big boy, yeah. I've been hiding this in my house, just hoping you wouldn't see it. Look at that. Yeah, that's cool. But more importantly, anything, how cool does it look?
It looks really cool. Really cool.
Yeah, it does. I need to find some bolts for it. All right, so our engine is looking much more like an engine now, and it's looking like a really, really cool one. We've been kind of on a hiatus from this because we had to decide what we were gonna do. As you guys have seen already, we had some issues with our head, the turbo head. We had some issues with our turbo block. We had some issues with basically everything from the turbo motor, except for the pistons and rods, which were in good shape. So what we've done is we've broken this thing all the way down, put the turbo pistons and rods in, which I think are both forged. The pistons are definitely forged. I think the rods are too, to handle boost. and used Ranger everything else. Now the cool thing about that is the Ranger has a roller head instead of a flat tappet. So that's cool, a roller cam rather, instead of a flat tappet cam. So that's cool, and I was actually just told by a subscriber that it's got a kind of more performance-oriented cam because there's no boost from factory. More lift, I think, is what he said. And so that's pretty exciting as well, because that means we're going to get a performance boost just from having this head. Now, the only difference we could find in the two blocks is that the main journals on the crank are beefier, they're thicker, they're bigger on the turbo block than they are on the Ranger block. I don't think that's going to be an issue for what we're doing. Even though our turbo is big, we're not going to be running crazy amounts of boost, and so the main journal should not be the first thing to fail. So because of all this, we've got to run our stock Ranger intake, we've got to run basically everything from the Ranger, at least to start, and that means that, well, our first plan is not going to work. So what we're going to do is run a standalone, and we talked to the guys over at Stinger Performance, and we're going to be running one of their setups, which we'll show you a little bit later, along with our DIS box and coil packs, which I know we could go to like a LS coil. We could do a lot of other things that are better for performance and tuning. For us right now, this was the best option, so that's what we went with. So what we're going to do now is we're going to basically redo some of the work on the engine, put our coils back on, we got new ones, put our DIS module back on, put our crank trigger back on, and get this thing back set up to be electronic ignition. It's a batch fire system, and our fuel injection is already there. Some of the things that I've talked to some other builders about is fuel injectors. We're going to need some fuel injectors for this thing, so we will put bigger fuel injectors in, and then obviously a wideband O2 on our dump pipe so that we can monitor our air-fuel ratio. All of that's coming in the future. First, we're going to put this engine back together and then get it back into the car. This engine runs on a pretty ancient version of crank trigger, and it is really hard to find any parts for it because most people just convert. But to keep this simple and to help us get this engine running again, we wanted to go back to the factory. If we decide to go to like a missing tooth wheel or whatever they call them later, we can do that. But for now, we just wanted to restore it as close to factory as we could to give us the fewest amount of kind of variables when we get to running again. So we had to drive about 2 hours to find one of these trigger wheels. We found one and basically redid our timing set because the trigger wheel is all tied into all of that. The wiring goes behind everything. It was a mess, but we did get it done. We installed our coils along with a coil bracket. And that was all sorted. And so with those two things and our DIS box, which is just a little module that controls your spark, we are ready to be back at a dual plug setup. These engines have plugs on either side, and that's why there's two coils. One operates one side and one operates the other. So with that, we are back to electronic ignition, and with a standalone, we can control this again. All right, so we ran to the store and got some more parts. We've needed a lot because this is such a weird conglomerate of things to make our engine. But one of the things that we need is a new oil feed line to run from our little distribution block here that feeds our oil pressure sensor over to the top of the turbo. Now I got this line, it's a pre-made line. We're gonna use half of it. We're gonna have to cut it down to make it fit, and we'll just make some bends, bend this up around here, flare the end, and then I got a female end that should fit onto our turbo flange or turbo coupler, whatever you want to call it, and that will be our high pressure line into the oil drain, I guess, or the oil path for the turbo. And then the drain is right down here, and we've got a drain hose that'll run off of that down into the oil pan. I'm not sure we're gonna get to that today, but we'll see. First thing though is gonna be to bend something up that gets close to that, and then we'll do our cuts and flares. And with our turbo plumbed, we're actually gonna have to stop the video here. I filmed all of this a long time ago, and it's been kind of weird to go back and edit and sort through everything, but this is where I need to stop it. Next week, we will be putting this motor with the big turbo back in the car and attempting to get it to run. We've only got a few more videos in this series before the car's back on the road. I think you guys are gonna be really, really impressed with it. I love this build, even though it has taken an eternity to finish. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.